all so much for being here tonight. Welcome to the first ever pop-up museum hosted by Yesterday in Turner and the Santiam Historical Society. Yay! We have never done this before, so thank you for being our guinea pigs. I'm really anxious to see how the evening goes and what kind of people and what kind of objects filter in. We have with us this evening a very significant replica of a flag.
It's a real flag.
It's a real flag, but it's a replica of the flag that was flown when Oregon became a state. And so...
Not exactly.
Oh, well, that's what she told me. So Lee will have his 2 minutes. Lee will have his 2 minutes. But to start the evening, would you all rise and say the pledge with me?
And I might remind anybody who is a veteran is made hand salute if you are covered.
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lee. I'm anxious to hear about the history of the flag.
First off, how many stars on an American flag?
50.
Wrong answer to the question.
You'll get your 2 minutes.
Yes,
You'll get your 2 minutes.
I see 33 on this side and 33 on this side.
Okay.
66.
66. All right, so again, thank you all for being here. If this is your first time on these convention grounds, could you raise your hand? All right, I really hope that you can just enjoy the space a little bit while we just work through this evening. This particular building was built in 1886. It was first located over there where Jubilee Lodge is currently located, and it was moved sometime in the 60s or 70s over to this area using horses and logs. And there are some photographs of that in the records of the Northwest Christian Network. The tabernacle was constructed in 1891, originally had 2 pillars. One came down in a storm, and I would love to see them rebuild it, but I don't know if that's in the cards or not. The tabernacle is currently undergoing a restoration project, so if you're interested in hearing more about that, check out the Northwest Christian Network online, and they might have more information about how we've been updating the carpet, updating the heating and cooling system. It's a beautiful building, and if you get a chance to come back to these grounds and see it, I hope you take advantage. We are going to start with some of the object presentations at 5:50. All right, so I was told that I failed to introduce myself. I apologize. My name is Casey Holmes. I'm the collections manager for Yesterday in Turner. Diana Mall is our chairman. I am also our secretary. Jamie, oh gosh, I just blinked on your last name. Jamie's our treasurer, and Dave is one of our project managers. He works primarily with our digital collections. We're very, very grateful for all the hard work that Dave has put into managing our digital collections. So our first person to share an object with us tonight is Lee Montgomery, and I will warn you, I'm going to be very strict about the 2 minutes. There will be a nice loud alarm. Whether you are mid-sentence or not, you will be cut off at 2 minutes. That is your time, and then you can take your object back to where you have it displayed, and if people would like to walk over and talk to you about it, we have all evening. Feel free to get up and mosey around while people are presenting. This is going to be a casual event, so I will invite Lee up, and when you start speaking, the timer will start.
A paper to read. The United States of America, to all to whom these presents shall come, greetings. Whereas there has been deposited in the General Land Office of the United States a certificate number 2671 of the Register and Receiver of Oregon City, Oregon, whereby it appears that under the provisions of the Act of Congress approved on the 27th day of September, 1850, entitled an Act to create the office of Surveyor General of the Public Lands in Oregon and to provide for the survey and to make donations to settlers of said public lands, and the legislation supplemental onto the claim of William T. Montgomery and his wife Mary L. Montgomery of Lynn County, Oregon. of the title 7097 serial number has been established to the donation of 1/2 section of 320 acres of land of the same has been surveyed and designated according to the official plat of survey returned to the General Land Office by the Surveyor General of the southeast quarter of Section 35 in Township 9 south of Range 1 West and the northeast quarter of Section 2 in Township 10 south of Range 1 West in the District of Land subject to sale at Oregon City, Oregon, containing the 118 acres and 40 hundredths of an acre. Now know ye that the United States of America's consideration of the premises and in confirmation with the provisions of the Act of Force mentioned have given and granted, and by these presents do give and grant unto the said William G. Montgomery and his heirs the south half, and unto his wife, the said Mary L. Montgomery, and to her heirs in the both halves of the rest of the land above described to hold, have and hold, and you therefore used with the appearances into the said William G. Montgomery and his wife Mary L. Montgomery, and to their heirs, and signs, forms, their reflection portions thereof.
Time.
Signed by Andrew Johnson, President of the United States.
Well done. Thank you, Lee. That was a homestead document, if you didn't catch that. Thank you for sharing, Lee. All right. Roger Porter has a briefcase circa 1880s to share with us. So then, after the briefcase, we will have Mark Wolf.
Story behind this briefcase, I did a DNA test, and I noticed that I was related to this person, this lady, and I sent her a message, and I said, I think we're pretty closely related. And then she messaged me back and said, yes, we are. And come to find out, she lives over in Monmouth, Independence. And so I met with her, and she said, I have this briefcase and I really want to give it to somebody in the Porter family, even though she's related to the Porter family. She wanted to give it to a Porter. So this was Henry C. Porter's briefcase, and he was a real estate agent in Almsville, and he was a Sunday school teacher at the Christian church in Almsville for 51 years. And he was born in 1850. And his parents came to Oregon in 1848. So this is very old. And my second great-grandfather used to work with him, and his name's John Hancock Porter. He's buried in Staten, and Henry's buried here in Turner. And his daughter is Maud Boone. A lot of people know her, the Porter Park. And there's a Maud's Place in Almsville. So that's it.
So that's where Mom's living. That's right here.
Thank you very much. That was fascinating. Thank you, Roger. All right, next up we have Mark Wolf with some original street signs circa 1940s and a fire department hat from 1976 with Ted Shepard following.
Good evening. I'm Mark, and what I have here is a couple of the street signs that I found in my yard a couple years ago, and in fact, one of them is for South 5th Street, and it still gets to me surprised where it says they actually spelled it out instead of putting the numbers on it. And the other one I have that from there was Ash Street. And I always ask my dad, well, how did these get in our yard? And he didn't have an answer for me how that got there in our yard, down on the other part of 5th Street, way away from this one. And then the other item I brought was my father's volunteer fire department fireman's hat. He was from he came here in 1973. Became a fireman or volunteer here while working at the cannery. And always remember him telling me that when the siren went off, everybody ran to the station. And he still remembered when the station was where it used to be at the corner, across from City Hall. And he was telling me that when the siren went off, my mom went up there too to help work the radios too. And I was looking in the inside of his hat, and it's still got all of his information in there of his name, even the P.O. box, and he's also got in contact from my mom. The only thing I covered in there was his social security number was still in there. And what I thought was neat that he even had the medal or shield for the Turner Fire Department on the inside, on the outside here. And now, the only thing I noticed with this hat, it also comes apart. I had to keep putting it back together because it keeps popping off in the back.
Oh goodness.
So I think it was because they could just replace it. And I was still surprised when I saw that it was a 6.5 was the size my dad wore. I always thought it was a little, he had a little bit. There we go. Made it to 2 minutes.
That was wonderful.
Thank you, Mark. Wonderful.
He did not hear who his dad was.
Oh,
I'll let you share.
okay.
Questions from
Sorry.
the audience?
No, that's all right. We'll take those.
My dad was Anton Tony Wolf, or his nickname was Tony, and my mom was Louise Wolf. Both of them are passed now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mark. All right. Next, we have Ted Shepard with an arrowhead to share with us, and Gary Tiffin will be next.
Well, I should say Arrowhead Collection, but anyhow, to talk about a little family history, I married Louise Hewson. Her grandfather, Roy Hewson, bought the land that we're living on in 1908 from Lewis Turner, Henry Turner's son, which is just south of Mill Creek out of Longville. And they have 84 acres. We have 84 acres there. So while my wife, as a young kid, born in 52, I would say maybe the late 50s and early 60s for sure, as she was picking beans and berries for her father, she found about a dozen different arrowheads.
Really?
And years ago we had this made by Geronimo Clark in Longville, who was Native American, and he put this nice display together for us. And so it's something that she shared with me, and I said, oh, we got to get that set up in a nice frame. So that's what we did. My wife's grandfather bought that 84 acres for $4,600 in 1908. And so we're still living there, of course. And as my wife was raised there, so that's what we have. I'll set it on a table. I guess over here by Roger's stuff.
Were they using in bow and arrows?
Oh, I'm sure for spearing fish along the creek, because Mill Creek is right there, and then our 80 acres is right there. So, yeah.
Shot fish with them?
Speared, yeah, or shot.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, there's some of the black ones. She told me what they were. Volcanic stones. Yeah, they're all very sharp.
Ted, did you say 84 or 86 acres?
84 acres. 84 acres, yep. Okay.
Thank you, Ted.
I beat the timer.
You finished 10 seconds early. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ted. All right, next we have Gary Tiffin, who has served extensively on various boards and all things related to the Oregon Christian Convention in these beautiful grounds. So he has some pieces of history from this particular place. And next will be Matt Holmes.
If you ever seen homemade nails, I got a basket of them back there. They've been pulled from pews that were built in 1924 in the roof. Speaking
Get
of
on
the roof,
get on the,
Say that again.
oh, I have nails, handmade nails that were in the roof, and they've been pulled from all kinds of places over the years. There's a basket of them back there. In 2015, part of the roof on the tabernacle was being repaired, and they found the following. It says, Potter and Mary, 1902. So some volunteers evidently working on that and put that in there. Shame on them. Glad they did. Secondly, back at the table, I have a few postcards of the tabernacle and things that you can read.
Speak into the microphone, please.
Okay, I'm sorry, you sound like my mother. Anyway, I know, thank you. I thought I talked too loud as it was. There's also on the table a photo album of a lot of the buildings and history of these grounds. I'm rushing because I want to read something to you. You mentioned Lewis Turner. Recently discovered was a book written, and it's very valuable, in 1926 by Pop Swander, who was the state secretary for all the Christian churches in the state. And he dedicated the book to both Lewis Turner, who was one of the two sons of the Turners, and to Cornelia Davis, his sister, who gave all the land around here for Turner retirement homes and this. Now I want to read you a quick story. I can't read it all. So here's the setting. There was a period of time in the early 20th century when everybody came in horses and teams of horses, and they needed to buy extra property from Lewis Turner to build a shed and a place to keep them. Unfortunately, the automobile came in, and suddenly they had paid for that land that hadn't paid for it, and so they were in trouble, and I'm going to read the end of this. Is 2 minutes are up?
There you go.
Okay, well,
It's not
We'll look
enough.
at it over there.
It's just not enough. Okay. Thank you, Carrie.
All right. We can find some time to hear that story. After a little break, Matt Holmes is going to present in about 5 minutes. So we're just going to take a little break, see if any more friends trickle in.
So I am not the most qualified person in the room to talk about this document. Our archivist is my wife, and the guy who literally wrote the book on the history of our church is Gary Tiffin. But I'm the pastor, so I get to do things like this. The Turners, as you may have picked up, were affiliated with the Christian churches, the Stone Campbell movement, and Cornelia Davis donated land to found 3 different organizations in our town. This grounds in 1871. The Turner retirement homes in the 1930s, and then Turner Christian Church. They all come from donations from Cornelia Davis. One thing I do know that I picked up when I was working on the eastern half of the state is there's another branch of the Turners, and apparently our branch was considered the black sheep, and so they find it a little ironic that our branch started so many church organizations. I don't know if there's anything valid to that, but that's the family beef. So our church was lived in 3 homes. The building we're in now was built in late 80s, early 90s. We actually started in the basement of the Presbyterian church, which is currently Angel Share. They let us found in their basement in 1919. And then in 1926, we dedicated the building where we were for most of our life. I have a picture here because it's since been demolished, and the document that I have is the program from the dedication of our first church building in 1925, April 12th. And there were members of the Turner family present, and it has the hymns that they sung. I consider myself pretty well versed in hymns, and I don't recognize them. I had to learn one of them for our centennial. And then there's also a set of the dedicatory vows and petitions. And one of the really cool things about recovering a document like this within your own organization is we were able to use those when we celebrated our centennial and repeat them.
All right, I'm going to invite Gary Tiffin to come back up and give him 2 minutes to read that story. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
This is my daughter, Charlotte. I'm going to make her a historian, whether she wants to be or not. All right, come back up, Gary.
I have some postcards that are for the taking, Connie. Anyway, come get them. They're free. They're of the tabernacle, and we have the extras. All right, so I'm going to pick up the story and read just a little bit of it. So they signed a note to pay Lewis, I'll say his name, Turner, to pay Lewis Turner off. About that time, of course, the automobile comes in, and now nobody's bringing their team of horses or bringing cars, so what are they going to do? So the story develops that nobody wanted to pay the note off anymore, so now they owed money, and it was really hard to raise money in that time, probably in the late 1917, 18. So I'm going to read now. It became impossible to raise the money for even the interest on the note. The state board authorized the president and secretary to negotiate Mr. Turner for terms of release of the contract. It was an experience that it was our expectations he would ask to deed the property back and thus save the expense of foreclosure proceedings. To our amazement, he met with us on terms we had never thought of. He figured how much we would owe of a monthly rental of $6 a month for the time we had possessed it. Then he figured out the total amount we had paid on the note and that he would owe us $115. He gave us his check for that moment, and we executed a deed in his favor. He was under no obligation, morally or legal, to give us a penny. Under provision of the law, he could have taken it back without recompense. This we expected him to do without doing us injustice. The act of going the second mile has left a favorable impress upon my mind and to the real character of Lewis Turner, one of the two sons of the Turner family. So that's the story. That's a cool story. This was just discovered in its reflections on the early history of this place, and it can't be circulated. It's in fairly tangible condition. So thank you for the chance to finish
Gary,
that story.
was there another family that helped?
No, it's all Turner, yeah.
What about the McKinneys? Didn't they?
Nope.
They didn't help?
Well, they might have helped, but no. The land was on... When Cordelia Davis, the daughter, owned 2,500 acres around Turner. And for years, that all went to Turner retirement homes, and it slowly was sold off over the years, logged and all that. And I've seen records of $20 an acre, $10 an acre, $35 an acre. And it wasn't until the late 1940s that all that land had been sold off. They also provided all the money for this property, 19 acres now. And so the Turner family has really had a great impact in this community, certainly in terms of the tradition.
Also for the high schools. They donated money for Turner and Onslow High School.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Cornelia did.
Yeah, Cornelia did. Okay, enough.
Postcards will be back at that table if you're interested. These postcards do show the tabernacle with the 2 towers instead of just the one, and those are globes on top of each tower. Those little round turrets are not just turrets, they are globes. Thank you, Gary. Gary's done a lot of work on history for Turner Christian Church and published a history of Turner retirement homes just a couple years ago. So we're very grateful to have those autographed copies in the Yesterday in Turner collection. All right, once again, I want to thank you all for coming this evening. Those are all of the artifact presentations that we have, but we are still going to be here for another 40 minutes. So feel free to look around, ask some questions, get some really great firsthand knowledge of the history of our community. I do want to thank the Santiam Historical Society for working with Yesterday in Turner on this. This has been really great for a first time trying to pull off a pop-up museum. I also want to share that on May 10th, Dr. David Lewis is going to be giving a presentation at the Turner Fire Station. That's also going to be co-sponsored by Yesterday in Turner and the Santiam Historical Society. Dr. David Lewis has done extensive research on Native peoples in the Pacific Northwest, specifically in the Willamette Valley, and he has published recently the tribal histories of the Willamette Valley, and that's what he's going to be speaking on. He currently teaches anthropology and Native American history at Oregon State, so we're very excited to have him come. There's more information about that on the table right back there. So once again, thank you for coming, and if you have any questions about Yesterday in Turner, feel free to talk to me or Jamie, maybe Connie. You're holding up your hand.
Could you make an announcement that if people want to see what happened tonight while I'm yelling and get on the audio, they can get on Facebook deputy attorney, and they can see this.
Yes, Dave has been recording this. Thank you, Dave. Dave does a great job of trying to make sure that all of our presentations are recorded for posterity, and we do try to get those videos up on our website and on our Facebook page. So if you have any interest in seeing those again, you can find those there. All right, thank you so much for being here, everybody.
Thank you.
1959 at the centennial year, and then at the sesquicentennial year, I got this sesquicentennial designation. He should be able to tell you exactly who was here at that time.
Coffee that built this fence for that fancy daily around this area. Farming. Very interesting.
I can digitize all of this.
Oh, you can?
Yes.
I was going to show you this too.
Homes at reasonable figures.
I know exactly.
It's neat how they worded that.
Look, it says, for the time will soon be here when none but the wealthy can purchase homes in this greatly favored Willamette Valley. Like already saying that.
Yeah.
I didn't take time to talk about, and maybe I told you this before, that end is original over there, and when they started redoing it, they had to replace most of the roof, but not over there, to show you how well they built that. They didn't have to tear the old stuff that was still good apart. And of course, I wasn't around in those days, but I did a lot of research on our history. When I wrote the history of Turner retirement homes, I had 800 letters of the original administrator I got to read through. I'm a historian anyway. I've taught history for 60 years almost at universities.
Very cool.
But I like local history.
Yeah, nice.
And what are you involved in when you're not coming to meetings like this? Are you employed someplace, or are you?
Yeah, but I work remotely.
Oh, okay, good for you.
Yeah, so I still have a job in Houston. And then my dad was an architect. He retired, but I was like sitting on his lap while he was